loved rock and roll. We looked at the great things in rock and roll and tried to learn from it, and knew we were following in its footsteps, that we had to get up there and give a professional show, and how important it was, image and charisma. These kids now don't understand that. They never seen anything good to even know what it takes to be good. If we're going to look at bands of the 90s, they never seen anything good. We saw all the great stuff. So, I mean, I used to go to shows and see everything that the band did and go, wow, they didn't walk on the stage very well, you know. Well, that band, wow, that band really walked on the stage great. Make all these mental notes of this stuff, and then every little piece that would be so important, just how where we stood on the stage, how you walked on the stage, where I set up, had the PA set up, and just to bring things in to make the stage a certain size, as opposed to getting too big of a stage and wandering around on the stage. And don't look at the drummer. Don't be looking across at me. Don't be doing, you know, look forward. The audience is forward. You know, like we don't look like you need to be grooving or communicating with the drummer. I tell CJ, you know, like looking over there. Don't be facing your amplifiers. Don't, you know. So everything became very important. Every little detail.
Did the film Freaks have anything to do with?
Oh, writing Pinhead, yeah. I mean, because we always found them fascinating to look at and see pictures of. Or if we were riding around and we saw something that seemed like a pinhead or anything like that, we once thought we saw a pinhead while riding in the van one day in the car next to us.
Did you really?
Yeah.
And what did you do?
We got all excited, you know. And we must pull up to a stop, and you have to ask Monty on this, but we get out and we're somewhere like in Arizona or New Mexico, and we get out of the van, and the lady says to Monty, are you taking care of these like retarded boys? And he goes, oh yeah, you know. And the lady thought that we were retards, you know. I guess they must have saw Mark, I guess, you know.
Mark, did you guys talk to each other on the bus?
In the van? Well, I'd sit in the front seat next to the driver. It was all different people. Sometimes it was CJ's friend, Richard. You know, Mark would sit in the first row, then Joey, then Monty, and then CJ would be in the back row. And I guess when me and Mark would be talking, which would be most of the time, we'd be like doing crazy things and aggravating Monty. If Monty fell asleep, we'd tell the driver, step on the brake. And we would go, watch out! You know? And Monty would pop up. So whenever he would do anything like that, you know, we'd always be doing things, you know, go, oh, I can't believe you made the wrong turn. And Monty would pop up again. What'd you do? What, you can't follow my directions, you know? A lot of mental illness in the band. You know?
Genuine mental illness?
Yeah, genuine, yeah.
I was friends with Johnny. We had a working relationship, and that's probably where it ended. He talked about baseball. He's a big baseball freak, and I enjoyed baseball and the Yankees. But it kind of ended there. You know, you do a show, you go to your room. But before we went to the room, we always had to stop at a 7-Eleven so John could get milk and cookies. He'd get that little pack of cookies, I don't know, Fig Newtons or Oreos, and a milk. I mean, you got to understand, the kids are following us. And you find the nearest 7-Eleven, he'd jump in there, get his milk and cookies. Every night, that was it. That was his thing after a show. And that became like nuts. And then that was it. You wouldn't see him. But you'd always see Dee Dee, and you'd always see Joey. We'd hang out. You know, Joey and I would, we'd, take all the beers from the show, and we'd go to our room and drink all night, and then get on the bus. And Dee Dee too. And we'd all talk. But you never saw John at any part of that in all that time. He just... In fact, he would like take a different floor in the hotel. I don't know what he did, but Johnny was just strictly a working relationship, and that was basically it. I mean, when I got in the band, the first song I wrote had some kind of minor 7th chord, and John freaked out. Like, what is that? How do you play that chord? You know, it was like a big fight at the time. You know, it's a minor. It creates suspense. Try it. You know. And finally, we got to it. Minor chord, come on. Let's go from 3. Let's learn a 4th chord, John. Dee Dee would always write about his life. That's what made him creative. when he was in the program and going to the, I mean, this guy would go to the program 3 or 4 times a day. I mean, dedicated his life. But then every song he wrote was about the program. Went to the program at 9 a.m., you know, and it got, you know, that video we did was all about his wife wanted a Mercedes-Benz, and he's telling her, you know, a different story. So he really wrote about life. I mean, this is the only guy I know who, when he took a shower, had a special pipe with a tube that went into the shower, and he could put it, you know, fill his bowl and smoke while he was in the shower. He had this like whack device set up. I mean, I don't know anybody like that, you know. He was special. When I was in the band, we did normal things. We'd go to the hotel and go for a swim with Joey. I'd say, Joey, let's go for a swim. And I forget the first time we went swimming, you know, he had all that hair, but when it got wet, his head was only, he had a really tiny head, you know, and he had those, with his glasses. Oh, it was so funny, but, you know, he was a really, you know, normal guy. You know, there was nothing. He did normal things. I took him to Brooklyn and go bowling. You think he ever went to Brooklyn and went bowling? You know, come on. People are looking, you know. But he got to experience a lot of different things with me that he never really did. He used to stay in that house all day and then just go to a club, you know. But he didn't have to with me, you know. I got him out in the world in different ways that he never really did before, you know.